Plant tags seem simple until they don't work. Let's talk how to choose the right plant tag for your season. Hi, my name's Andrea and this is Andrea's One Stop Garden. I've been growing my own plants from seed for several years now, and I've been also for the last 4 years selling thousands of plants. So I've made a fair share of plant tags as well as I've made my fair share of mistakes making them. So I'm here to try and help you through the do's and don'ts of making plant tags. I'll give you a few easy ways to make them yourself and where to buy them if that's what's best for you. So let's get started. Let's go through a few different options of plant tags and what they would be good for. So these plant tags are good for small gardeners, I find. You can find them at the dollar store, usually Dollarama or Dollar Tree. They usually come in 10 to 12 packs, and they're good for if you're only making a few plant tags. You can easily write on the top what your item is that you're planting and maybe the date that you started it, so you know when you started your seeds for next year. These are a nice option if you're only doing a few. Then I have these, which you find at Walmart, and they come in 20 packs. They're usually about $2 or so very affordable, and they're also really nice, especially if you need more than one tag and you want to save some money. They're about 5 inches long. I sometimes cut them into different pieces so I can use them in my 288 flats, because these ones are nice and narrow, but they are too long. So if I cut them into 3 pieces, they fit perfectly in these 288 cells, which are quite narrow, and I can still label which my items are, especially if I'm doing multiple different types of seeds in this big flat. Another option that you can get is off Amazon. So typically I like to use 4-inch plant tags because they're perfect for larger pots. You can find them in these cute little colorful 2-inch tags, and these ones I do also like to use for various reasons. One being, again, the plug flats. I don't have to cut anything. They fit perfectly here, and I find them on Amazon in usually 500 packs. So you do get a fair bit of tags for about $15. So very reasonable priced. And if you don't plant a lot of seedlings, they will last you a very long time if you're going to be writing on them. Now the next one is these cute wooden plant tags. These are probably my least favorite to use for numerous reasons. So these ones, you can write on them just like that. So I have, say, orange hat, microdwarf, tomato. You can get them at the dollar store. However, the reason I don't like to use the wooden plant tags is over time, the writing doesn't matter if it's plant mark or not. The writing over time, when the wood gets wet, does disappear. And the wood, I have found, sometimes will disintegrate over time or cause the soil around it to go moldy because the stick is going moldy itself. So I don't like to use the wooden ones as much as the plastic ones. So another option is my favorite. I buy these ones on Amazon. They're 4-inch plant tags. They're the perfect size for most pot sizes. I buy them in 1,000 packs. They're the most cost effective buying them in 1,000 packs. I know that not everybody is going to be needing 1,000 plant labels, so you can buy them in smaller packs, 100 packs, 200 packs, 300 packs, etc. on Amazon. However, 1,000 plant labels for $23.99 equals about 2 cents per label. Very affordable and will last you a very long time if you're not going to be using them all in one season. I will put the links to them in the description below. The next thing is, how do you write on the plant labels? So if you're like me, you have used either the wrong label tape for a label maker and have had thousands of labels over time that disappear and fade from the sun. Bad mistake. I've had Lots of messages from customers in the past saying, hey, do you know what this tomato is? Or do you know what this pepper is? Because the label has disappeared. Not making that mistake again. I've done my research and I found some plant label tape that does not fade again. So there's a few different label makers I have used before. This is my newest one and it is my favorite one. The reason I like the Brother label maker the best is because it has so many different fonts and different options on it, as well as when you go to print, you can print up to 9 labels at the same time. It prints out in one big slip, and you can clip them into different options. You also can print in large font for those that can't read small font, medium font, and small font. So it has various different options for that. My previous label maker was this DYMO letter tag, and I used this for several years. It probably made about 5,000 labels until the button decided it was going to die. So this one also does have the different 2-line option and a few different options for types of lettering. However, the Brothers label has a lot more options, so I do like that one. And if you do have that label maker, I will post below the type of label tape I found that is weather resistant, so labels do not fade. If you do not have a label maker, that is no problem. They do sell these Artline garden markers. If you're in the Okanagan, you can get them at Lee Valley for about $6 for a marker. However, Amazon is of course the best deal. A 3-pack of them for about $11. So you can have them last for a while. And these markers do not fade in the sun and they will last for years. So I have some labels kicking around from 2021, 2022 that I find in my shed that I've written with this garden marker, and they are still as if I just wrote it today. So these plant label markers, they do last a very long time and they're weather resistant. So there's just a few options for plant tags. If you don't want to spend a lot of money and you have that old set of blinds kicking around, I did make plant labels for Mother's Day Plant the Seed project that I helped our church out with several years ago, where I had to make 350 plant tags for all the plants that I started from seed for Mother's Day. And I had an old set of blinds from my kids' room that I was no longer using, and they're plastic, they're thick, and they work perfect for plant labels. So this picture here, you can see the difference in the sizes of the labels. The back label is the one that I made out of the blinds. In this picture here, you can see what the labels actually look like in the plants that I had for Mother's Day on display. So they do look quite good with the nice writing. That was not my writing. Someone in the church did write those. I do not have that native writing, hence why I prefer to use a label maker so I can actually read them. And it's just easier for doing the quantity of labels that I do every season. However, they do look really nice. If you're only doing seedlings for yourself, maybe a few to give away to friends and family, then writing your own labels could be the right option for you. And if you do have those blinds kicking around at home, they do make quite nice thick labels, so a lot of space to write on as well. I would not recommend using Sharpie markers. I know they seem like a good option because they say that they're permanent markers. However, I do find from the past, Sharpie markers do fade over time in sunlight. So it is not the best option. If that's all you got, then so be it. However, I would highly recommend getting these markers or the right type of label tape if you have a label maker kicking around. So overall, the number one label I would really recommend would be these 4-inch plant labels that I have here from Amazon, as I do find they work the best and they are the most cost effective for the season. They will last you a long time if you do buy 1,000 packs. However, they do sell smaller packs. And if you can see here, If you like a little pop color, they do come in multicolor packs, which makes it really nice if you really like to color coordinate things, for say pink being for flowers, or green being for herbs, or blue being for peppers. You can kind of color coordinate them to whatever the type you want, if that is your thing. I just go with white because I like the simplicity of it, and it looks really nice for my use. There you have it. That is my little guide on how to choose plant labels. If this video has helped you, please hit the like button and hit subscribe to see more garden videos like this. And like always, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.